What's up, fellas? It's your boy, Alan Roger Currie, coming back from Los Angeles. Had a good time in Los Angeles. Worked with a client out there. Again, Los Angeles probably has my highest percentage of one-on-one face-to-face coaching session clients. Yeah, when it comes to one-on-one face-to-face coaching session clients, that's where... Now, as I mentioned in one of my Patreon exclusive live streams, and now I'm mentioning it to the general public, this guy is lucky because he got the last of my old rates. My old rates. Because I had mentioned on a few videos back in 2017 that I said I got a cousin who works on Wall Street. And you know, if you work on Wall Street, you're all about money. And honestly, one of my criticisms my cousin from Wall Street had of me, he said, Alan, he said, cuz you lowballing yourself. You lowballing yourself, man. Particularly, you market yourself as one of the best, if not arguably the best dating coach out there, but yet you're lowballing yourself. If you consider yourself one of the best or the best, your rates for your coaching and consultation should be commiserate with that. And yeah, because the last time I had raised my rates, I think was like 2016. 2016. Yeah, I had said I was going to raise my rates in January of 2017. I didn't. I postponed it. Then I said I was going to raise my rates in January of 2018. I didn't. And then in January, because usually that's the month I usually raise my rates, is usually at the beginning of a new calendar year. So you can say this is like what? All at 17, all at 18. This is like 2.5 years overdue. But yeah, if you go to my coaching page now, you'll see my email consultation rates have gone up. My Skype and telephone consultation rates have gone up. And probably the biggest area is my one-on-one coaching. It's going up big time. I'll give you one example. Back in 2016, you could do a 4-hour. For one-on-one coaching, I have a 4-hour session, an 8-hour session, and a 14-hour session. My 4-hour session used to be $1,000. It used to be $1,000. Now, my 4-hour session is like about $4,000. I might be 5,000. Yeah, I've upped my rates on my one-on-one coaching. Like now, if you do a 14-hour session with me, 14-hour session used to be just under 3,000. Now that's 10,000. So, yeah, man, I ain't selling myself short no more, man. Nope, not going to do it. Not going to do it. Not going to do it. Anyway, but I had a good time. Hooked up with one of my fraternity brothers that I hadn't hooked up with in a long time out there in LA. We were at a party for this movie coming out called Party with Ma, or just Ma, with Octavia Spencer. Yeah, that was a cool party. A lot of honeys there. A lot of honeys there. They was all young, but there was a lot of honeys there. Anyway, what I want to talk about, and normally my free portion of my video goes about 15 to 19 minutes. I'm going to predict this might go a little longer. This video is not going to really be about giving you dating advice as much as it's going to be about just the general subject of taking advice. The general subject of taking advice. So yeah, so I'm going to let you know this video will not really be about me dropping game or giving any type of dating advice, but this is going to be about just the subject of you guys taking advice from people. Well, first, before I get to that, now, you know, I've had this lighthearted beef with a brother named Big Mike from Mac City Limits. And I see he's turned that lighthearted beef into a string of like 5 different videos. Big Mike's funny, man. Try to use my name to create like 5 different videos. But it's about the issue of Swagga jacking. And I called because, you know, he's the one who tried to come at my fan base, man. I'm very protective of my fan base. Not all of my fans, because I know I got some outliers who are really not truly my core fans. They just, whatever, they might watch my videos. But, when it comes to my core fan base, I'm actually very protective over that. I don't want anybody trying to undermine my fan base. And Big Mike said some shit I didn't like. So I called up that brother, man, and let him have it. But we ended up having a discussion, like a 45-minute discussion. And I think he ended up turning that into a Patreon exclusive video for his listeners and followers. But here's what I want to make clear, though, related to that. I want to make this big clear because this has kind of been a talking point among some few people. There's a big distinction between swagger jacking and plagiarism. I want to make that perfectly clear. Those are apples and oranges. I say maybe 5% of the time they could overlap. Maybe 5% of the time the two concepts could overlap. But for the most part, those are two separate subject matter. Is what's known as swagger jacking. And again, some of my non-black fans might not know what that is. Most black people know what that is. Swagger jacking and plagiarism. What's the difference? Swagger jacking is when you're basically emulating someone else's style. That's swagger jacking. Is when you're emulating someone else's style. Like, for example, I wear a lot of black shirts. If someone was to go in their videos always wearing black shirts, that would mean they would be swagger jacking me. I always hold up a drink at the beginning of my videos. And a lot of times I give you guys a very pensive stare before I even start talking. So if someone else was to hold up a drink and give you a pensive stare before they start talking, that would mean they're swagger jacking me. If just the way I say certain things, like my tone of voice, my overall quality of voice, my vocal inflections, someone else was to sound similar to me in terms of their tone of voice, quality of voice, their vocal inflections, that would mean they're swagger jacking me. I already gave you one example with celebrities. Kobe Bryant has been accused of swagger jacking Michael Jordan, which he openly acknowledges he has. So it ain't like he denies it. Kobe has many times acknowledged that he swagger jacked Michael Jordan. Tom Brady said when he first became a quarterback, he was trying to emulate Joe Montana. I just recently watched a video where Steph Currie of the Golden State Warriors said, he named three people. When he started out, he wanted to emulate. One was, of course, his father. His father was a great shooter in the NBA. His father, Daryl Currie. Second, he said, was Reggie Miller. And third, he said, was Ray Allen. He said those are three guys that you could say he initially patterned his game after until he developed into his own style. Eddie Murphy basically said he swagger jacked Richard Pryor before he developed his own style. And Richard Pryor, interesting enough, swagger jacked Bill Cosby to a degree when he was first starting out until he developed his own style. A lot of young people do that with older people. That's common. That's common. I don't really have much beef with that. In case people think I got beef with that, I don't have some of my fans, followers, clients might have more beef with that than I do. I don't really have a beef with the concept of swagger. Like I was watching the young brother who I mentioned before on my channel, C Boogie. He did a live stream. He actually did a show called Is C Boogie Swagger Jacking Ellen Roger Currie? And then he did a live stream that was kind of like a sequel to it or something. But he mentioned something that I totally agreed with. He said, I'm going to be paraphrasing his words, but essentially he said, I'm not intentionally trying to emulate Alan Roger Currie or his facial expressions or his behavioral mannerisms, etc. But he basically said, that said, if you like someone's content, and you're listening to someone you respect and admire, it's almost inevitable that either consciously and intentionally or unconsciously, subconsciously and unintentionally, you're just going to find yourself patterning certain things after that person. He said it's almost inevitable. And I agree with him. I was in his chat room and I told him, I said, I agree with that. So it's true, man. Most young people, like, again, using athletes. Most athletes, like LeBron James said, a lot of his passing style was influenced by Magic Johnson. Until, of course, he develops his own, LeBron style. A lot of young people, a lot of young athletes, a lot of young entertainers, like Michael Jackson, I think I mentioned. He patterned a lot of his song and dance style after James Brown until he developed into his own style. So that's almost inevitable. Swagga jacking, particularly again, when it comes to a person that you like, respect, and admire. Like, respect, and admire. I give you the best example with me, and everybody should know this. If there's at minimum one person, I'll openly admit I swagger jacked the fuck out of. And the interesting thing about it wasn't a real life person. It was more of a fictional character. And that's John Leslie's character of Jack in Talk Dirty to Me Part 2. I guarantee you, if you were to watch Talk Dirty to Me and Talk Dirty to Me Part 2 starring John Leslie, and you saw me, you were to see a video of me seducing a lot of women in real life, particularly when I was in my 20s, I would say there would be a 99% chance you would be like, damn, Alan, the way he uses his eyes, his voice, everything is just like John Leslie. In which some black people have found interesting because they like, most black people are used to black men emulating other black men. Most people wouldn't think a black man would be emulating a white Italian dude. John Leslie, he's a white Italian dude. But that's probably the number one person, man, when it comes specifically to like verbal seduction and erotic dirty talk. Oh, man. I mean, until you could say, develop kind of my own unique style, that was the number one person I used to emulate, was John Leslie's character. It wasn't even John Leslie himself as much as his character of Jack in Talk Dirty to Me and Talk Dirty to Me Part 2. I would watch closely the way he used his eyes, the way he used his voice, his overall demeanor. And yeah, the first few years, I said minimum, the first like 3, 4, 5 years, when I first started being more one with women, probably 90% of my demeanor and behavior was patterned after John Leslie. Again, that's why you see that poster behind my right shoulder, Talk Dirty to Me, man. Those two movies I just talked about that in my webinar with Ron Wills. I said, them two movies had a profound effect on me, man. You could say they were the impetus for my Mo One approach, was Talk Dirty to Me and Talk Dirty to Me Part 2. But yeah, man, that's probably number one. It's funny, man. I've probably, speaking still on the subject of Swagga Jack, or having someone kind of influence me and inspire me with some of their mannerisms, a lot of mine have been fictional people rather than like people I hung out with in real life. Like, again, number one would be John Leslie when I was young. Number two was Sean Connery's portrayal of James Bond. I used to pay close attention to Sean Connery when he played James Bond, man. Mickey Rourke in the movie 9.5 Weeks. Yep, he's somebody that to a small degree left an indelible impression on me. I think that movie came out in 1987. Yeah, Mickey Rourke's character of... Yeah, because like when I watch a lot of fictional characters in movies, particularly if the character is some type of like seducer, ladies' man, two things I'll pay attention to, if nothing else. I'll pay attention to the way they use their eyes and the way they use their voice. The way they use their eyes and the way they use their voice. So anyway, for me, I find most instances, there might be a few exceptions, most instances of swagger jacking, I actually find that to be amusing and flattering. That's almost to me like an indirect form of flattery. When somebody's swagger jacking, say my facial expressions, the way I use my eyes, the way I use my voice, the way I dress, certain catchphrases I might use, that, But I wanted to clarify, that's to be distinguished from plagiarism. Now that's a serious offense. That's illegal. That's illegal. See, you can't take someone to court for swagger jacking you. It ain't like you can file a lawsuit against somebody for swagger jacking you. You know, Michael Jordan couldn't sue Kobe Bryant for swagger jacking his basketball playing style. That's not something you... Plagiarism, you can take somebody to court for that. A person can land in jail for plagiarism. Just to refresh your memory, most of you should know what plagiarism is. But again, here's what plagiarism is. It mainly has to do with people who are writers, whether it's a book author, a newspaper columnist, a magazine columnist, or even in many cases like a broadcast television talk show personality or news personality, a broadcast radio talk show personality or news personality. Plagiarism is, I'll use myself as an example. If you take any portion of my ebook, my paperback, or my audiobook, my copyrighted material, and you repeat it, regurgitate it, duplicate it, either exactly word for word or very close to word for word without giving me proper credit attribution, that's plagiarism. That's plagiarism. That's illegal. That's not even saying ballpark. Again, swagger jacking, that's more of a lighthearted thing. That's more, I mean, nobody gonna take you to court for swagger jacking. Plagiarism, that's illegal. Example would be, let's say you got the audiobook of Possibility of Sex. I don't know how. You listen to either chapter 2, chapter 3, or chapter 4, and you go on a YouTube video and you repeat everything I said in, say, chapter 3, either exactly word for word or damn near word for word, but you don't mention my name, you don't mention my book, you pretty much act like it's coming from your own mind, that's plagiarism. That's plagiarism. Now, if you say, let's say you listen to my Possibility of Sex audiobook, and then you do a video and you say, hey, just yesterday I was listening to Alan Roger Currie's Possibility of Sex audiobook, and man, he was dropping some major game in chapter 3. Matter of fact, let me give you just a couple of paragraphs of information from chapter 3 in his book, and then you recite everything I say in at least 2 or 3 paragraphs from chapter 3, and you say, man, wasn't that heavy? Man, y'all need to check out Alan Roger Currie's audiobook, The Possibility of Sex. You'll learn a lot from it. See, that ain't plagiarism because you gave me proper credit attribution. And on top of that, you encourage people to go out and buy my book. You can repeat stuff from an established book author word for word or damn near word for word if you give them proper credit attribution. And on top of that, you basically endorse their books. You say, hey, you guys should check out his books. You guys should go buy his books. But if you read something from any of my books, whether it's the ebook version, paperback version, or audiobook version, and you repeat it again, you repeat it, regurgitate it, or duplicate it, either exactly word for word or damn near word for word, and you don't give me proper credit attribution, yeah, that's when I can sue you. That's when I can sue you. Matter of fact, I just had a discussion with a copyright attorney. I'm not going to give all the details, but here's my main topic. And I probably won't keep all this for free. I'm probably going to make some of it at least a $2 Patreon. But I'll talk for at least, 5 more minutes or so. But the main topic I wanted to talk about is, and speaking of proper credit attribution, I'm going to give somebody proper credit attribution. I'm actually borrowing this talking point from my fellow dating coach, David X, when we spoke together in London in November 2010. One thing David X said is when he was speaking at the Direct Dating Summit in London, he made a very valid point. He said, he told the guys in the audience, he said, you're listening to a number of different speakers. And a lot of these speakers are probably going to say different things that's going to, strike a chord with you or resonate with you. But he said, here's my best advice. He said, what you should do is listen to every speaker. But ultimately, you need to decide who you're going to follow. He basically went on to say, you shouldn't be regularly following 2 or more dating coaches over a long period of time. You shouldn't follow 2 or more dating coaches over a long period of time. And his main reasoning for that, which I totally agree with, he said, if you follow 2 or more dating coaches, it is almost inevitable that one dating coach is going to say something that's contradictory to the other dating coach. It's inevitable. Because no 2 people have had the exact same experiences. No 2 dating coaches have the exact same beliefs, the exact same attitudes, the exact same personal philosophies. And if they do, one person is copying off the other. Speaking of the whole copycat issue, I mean, that's just the truth. If you find 2 dating coaches that have the exact same beliefs, exact same attitudes, exact same personal philosophy, exact same concepts, etc., then that means one of those dating coaches is copying off the other one. One of those dating coaches is copying off the other one. But otherwise, just about all dating coaches are going to have different, like I'll give you one example. Well, I can give you 2 examples. Ron Wheels. Me and Ron Wheels, who I just did a webinar with, we have a lot of things that are similar to each other. But I know from watching a lot of his videos that he has some things he encourages or condones or teaches that are not exactly in line with what I endorse, condone, or teach. So we definitely, we have our similarities, but there's at least a percentage of things where we're different. AMS. I think everybody knows the difference between AMS. AMS, he's all about the sleazeball gang philosophy. Sleazeball gang philosophy, which basically means he believes, he condones lying to women, misleading women, manipulating women to get them in bed. That's basically what a sleazeball is. I'm the antithesis of a sleazeball. I'm the antithesis of a sleazeball. For those young people who don't know what that means, antithesis means just the opposite of something. When you're antithetical or antithesis of something, that means you're pretty much just the opposite of something. I'm just the opposite of a sleazeball. So, well, speaking of AMS, and I mentioned the young brother, C Boogie. C Boogie was in my comment section a few videos ago, and he made a comment that a lot of people have made a comment. I've made this comment before. But he said, basically, I don't understand how someone could be following you and AMS. I don't understand that. He was basically like, that blows my mind. I don't understand how somebody can say they follow you regularly and follow AMS regularly. Because y'all, you're direct, he's indirect. I mean, and it's true. I don't understand why people, number one, I don't think you should ever, to me, here's my thing. And this is not the first time I've expressed this. So I've expressed this going back to my Blog Talk Radio days. I remember I expressed this. In at least 1 or 2 previous videos since I've been on YouTube, I've expressed this. I don't think you should ever long-term be following 2 or more dating coaches. I really don't. It might be okay for you to do for the first few days, first few weeks, first few months after you become familiar with both. But at some point, you should just choose one to follow, and that's it. And the main reason goes back to what David X said, is that, because see, I'm going to tell you, here's something that irritates the fuck out of me. Ooh, most of my long-term followers know this about me. This irritates the fuck out of me. I hate when a follower, supporter, or client of mine will send me an email or Facebook inbox message saying, hey, Alan, man, I'll give an example. Hey, Alan, I know you encourage men to talk dirty to women in the first conversation, But I was listening to dating coach XYZ, and he said you should never talk dirty to a woman in the first conversation. You should never even talk about sex in the first conversation. Like, Alan, what do you think about what he said? What do you think about him, what he said? I don't give a fuck. I don't give a fuck if somebody gives advice that's contradictory to mine. Why would I give a fuck? Honestly. Dude, if you're a follower, supporter, client of mine, you want to get on my bad side, if only for at least a brief moment, 10, 15 minutes, or 24 hours, ask me my opinion on what another dating coach said. I don't give a fuck what any other dating coach says. I don't give a fuck what any other dating coach says. Because they might have methods that have worked for them in their life that would never work for me. And I know for a fact I have methods that have worked for me that don't work for everybody. I've said that a million times. Mo one ain't for everybody. Number one, to be Mo one, you got to be a ultra ballsy motherfucker. That's the number one ingredient you got to have, man. If you're not ballsy, Mo one ain't going to work for you. I'm just going to lay that out. I've said it. Two types of guys I always say right off the bat that Mo one is not going to work for a long term. If you're a guy who has a very fragile ego, or what's generally known as emotionally sensitive, thin skin, Mo one ain't going to work for you. It ain't. If just generally rejection, and particularly quick, straightforward rejection or abrupt rejection, is something that leaves you egotistically devastated or emotionally devastated, Mo one ain't going to work for you. Long term, it ain't going to work for you. Why do you think, I'll bring his name up again, AMS, why do you think AMS indirect approach is so popular? Why he has so many Patreon subscribers and followers? And speaking of David X, David X said this way back in 2010. I remember me and David X were talking, and David X basically said, business-wise, he said an indirect coach is always going to make more money than a direct coach. An indirect dating coach, generally speaking, is always going to make more money than a direct dating coach. He said for the simple fact that when you indirect, man, you're as I always call it, he uses a different set of words. I call it protecting your ego. You're protecting your ego. Indirect protects your ego. And that's essentially what David X said. He said it in a different way, but basically that's what he said in so many words, is that, yeah, indirect protects your ego, man, from being bruised. It protects your ego from being bruised. So yeah, man, I don't think you should ever follow. To me, having two or more dating coaches that you regularly find is like having two personal trainers. That's like having two or more personal trainers, or two or more nutritionists, or two or more family physicians. Why would you ever have that? Why would you have two family physicians, two personal trainers, or two personal nutritionists? Why? Why would you have that? There would never be a need for that. Here would be the one exception.